So now let's discuss Trusted Advisor. So Trusted Advisor is a service that just runs out of the box. You don't need to install anything, and it gives you a high-level AWS account assessment. So it will just run a bunch of checks and tell you if the checks are passing or not passing. And here's an example of the checks it does. For example, Amazon EBS public snapshots, 0 found, okay, good, the check is passing, and so on. So it's going to analyze your account and provide recommendations on 5 categories, and you need to remember these 5 categories, so please learn them. We have cost optimization, performance, security, fault tolerance, and service limits. Remember these 5 categories because the exam will ask you, hey, what are 2 of the Trusted Advisor categories? So remember these 5 so that you can identify the ones that are going to be correct in the question. The second thing that the exam will ask you on for Trusted Advisor is around the support plans. So we have, by default, 7 core checks available to us if we are on the basic and developer support plan. So again, something to remember, 7 core checks on the basic and developer support plan. And you need to remember them, what these core checks are, because again, the exam will ask you, hey, what are some of the core checks of Trusted Advisor? So we have 7. We have S3 bucket permissions, making sure a bucket is not public. Security group, making sure that some ports are not unrestricted, such as SSH. IAM so making sure that we have at least one IAM user in our accounts. MFA on root accounts, so making sure that we have enabled multi-factor authentication for the root accounts. Ensuring we don't have any EBS public snapshots. Ensuring we do not have any RDS public snapshots. And finally, looking at service limits in AWS. These are the 7 core checks. Please remember them, and the fact that it is for the basic and developer support plan. The other thing you need to know about Trusted Advisor is around the full checks. So this is available for your business and enterprise support plan, yet another thing to remember. And it's going to give you access to all the checks in the 5 categories I showed you before. You can set CloudWatch alarms when reaching these limits. And you have, very important as well from an exam perspective, you get programmatic access using the AWS Support API. You do not have access to that API if you are on the basic and developer support plan. Okay, so let's have a look at Trusted Advisor now in the console. So let me go into the Trusted Advisor service. Here we go. So currently there are 0 actions, 0 investigations, and 0 excluded items. And you can refresh all checks if you want to have a run of all the checks of Trusted Advisor. So as we can see, there's a recommended action. It says you need to upgrade your support plan to get access to all Trusted Advisor checks, because right now I am just on the basic support plan. So let's go into cost optimization. As you can see, we have none because we don't have the support plan needed for that. Same for performance, same for security, same for fault tolerance. And for security, we have access to 6 checks. So we have EBS public snapshots, RDS public snapshots, IMUs, S3 bucket permissions, MFA on root accounts, and security group specific ports unrestricted. So this is 6 free core checks available to me. And then on service limits, we have access to a bunch of service limits in here to check, for example, whether or not we're using the limits of EC2 on-demand instances, and so on. And fault tolerance as well, we don't have access to the checks. So what I want you to see is that if you go to cost optimization, we can have a look at, for example, this is a low utilization Amazon EC2 instances check, but we don't have access to this check unless we upgrade our support plan. Okay, so you've seen everything you need to see from an exam perspective. It's not very interesting to look at Trusted Advisor on the core checks when nothing is running on my account, obviously. But I find it very, very good, for example, to have a check for EBS public snapshots or RDS public snapshots, because this could be a data leak or your Amazon S3 bucket permissions that are too open to the public. Okay, so that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it, and I will see you in the next lecture.